In a big step forward, a new 30-member National Unity Cabinet is appointed in South Sudan. Kenyan officials are primed to burn stockpiles of illegal ivory Saturday to demonstrate their commitment to conserve elephants. And a rousing tribute to an African music legend, Papa Wemba.
Good evening and welcome. I'm Vincent Makori. This is Africa 54. Now, good news. We begin in South Sudan, where the new government of national unity held its first meeting Friday. The government includes men who were bitter rivals during the country's civil war, but must now work together if the country is to move forward in peace following 2 years of conflict. A decree read out on Thursday on state television and radio says 1/3 of the ministries in the new 30-member national unity cabinet were members of the SPLM-IO party, led by President Salva Kiir's long-term rival and first Vice President Riek Machar. Under pressure from the United States, the United Nations and other powers, both signed peace deals in August, but it repeatedly broke down. Machar only returned to Juba on Tuesday and was swiftly given back his old job. Now, the Islamic State terror group claimed its first attack on Somalia soil earlier this week, though the claim has not been verified by forces on the ground. Meanwhile, Al-Shabaab militants are stepping up their attacks as Somalia prepares for elections later this year. Henry Ridgewell reports there are growing frustrations among Somalia's Western backers of the country's slow progress in forming its own armed forces to establish security after 25 years of chaos.
Somali authorities say they are countering a resurgence from Al-Shabaab rebels after years of progress in driving back the militants.
Al-Shabaab has changed strategically their operations from the face-to-face fight to target, the military bases, or target to the civilians, such as hotels, so they can terrorize the civilian population.
That has included a series of suicide attacks in recent weeks, many of them targeting government figures in the capital, Mogadishu. Analysts say Al-Shabaab has been extending its reach across East Africa as it has lost territory in Somalia.
So we've seen it exert a much greater level of influence in Kenya, for example. There's much higher levels of recruitment and fundraising going on in Kenya.
Kenya recently marked the first anniversary of the Garissa University attack, when Al-Shabaab gunmen killed 148 people. Kenya is one of the main contributors to the African Union peacekeeping force known as AMISOM. After initial territorial gains, Somali authorities say AMISOM forces have been largely confined to their barracks for the past year.
What we're seeing now is that AMISOM, as a result of those successes, is to a certain extent overstretched. Meaning that it's having problems holding on to and establishing a presence in the territories that it has retaken.
Henline says AMISOM is also increasingly fragmented.
In Somalia especially, there is suspicion about what troop-contributing countries are, what their interests are in the country, and that they may not be operating for the greater good of Somalia.
Somalia's Western backers, including the United States, have been effectively paying the wages of Somali government troops. The European Union recently cut the monthly stipend it pays to AMISOM soldiers.
They need support by the international community because the government is financially not in a position to pay their salaries and to arm their military, and also to lift the arms embargo against the Somali National Army.
The United States has carried out a series of drone strikes against Al-Shabaab militants. The Somali government has welcomed the intervention and warns of a growing threat in the run-up to elections scheduled later this year. Henry Ridgewell for VOA News, London.
Members of the Burundian diaspora and exiled civil society leaders demonstrated outside the United Nations earlier this week, urging the international community to quickly send a large United Nations police force to help protect the country's civilians. Burundi is entering its second year of post-election violence. Here's VOA's UN correspondent Margaret Bashir.
Protesters say human rights violations are growing as the situation in Burundi deteriorates.
We really need to all stand together. This is not a Burundi issue. This is not an African issue. This is a humanity issue.
The country has been on the brink of serious ethnic violence for the past year, since President Pierre Nkurunziza announced he would seek a third term, which many said was unconstitutional. Since his re-election, violence has killed some 700 people and thousands have been detained. There are fears the violence could explode.
This can easily turn into a regional war. The UN must wake up.
Activist Pierre Claver Mbonimpa was seriously injured in an assassination attempt.
We have asked the international community, the United Nations, the African Union, and the European Union to come to Burundi and to protect the population.
UN Secretary General Ban Ki-moon visited Bujumbura in February and has recommended a UN police presence to help stabilize the country. Options range from a 3,000-strong contingent to a few dozen unarmed police advisors. Nkurunziza's government has made it clear it does not want any international armed presence. The UN Security Council will make the final decision on force size and responsibilities. The protesters in New York urge the council to quickly pick the most robust option to end the bloodshed. Margaret Bashir, VOA News, the United Nations.
Kenyan President Uhuru Kenyatta wants a ban on all sales of elephant ivory. The president addressed African leaders and conservationists at a summit in Nairobi on Friday, specifically talking about how to save the continent's embattled elephant and rhino populations. Mr. Kenyatta, the conservationist, said the future of Africa's elephants and rhinos depends on the ability of the continent's nations to battle together against poaching. From 1.2 million in 1970s, the number of elephants roaming across Africa has plunged to around 400,000. Poaching for ivory killed 30,000 animals a year from 2010 to 2012. The future for rhinos, now numbering less than 30,000, is even bleaker unless poaching is checked.
There is convincing evidence that poaching is aided by international criminal syndicates. It fuels corruption, it undermines the rule of law, as well as security, and it even provides funding for other transnational crime. This directly threatens the capacity of our nations to achieve sustainable and meaningful social economic development.
Well, to demonstrate its commitment to a total ban, Kenya is set to burn 105 tons of seized ivory on Saturday. Now, free at last, a plane carrying several dozen lions that had been used in circuses in South America is on its way to a South African game sanctuary. In total, 33 lions rescued from circuses in Colombia and Peru are being transported to a sanctuary in South Africa. The staff of Animal Defenders International processed the first 9 lions at Bogota Airport Friday morning. From there, they are being flown to Peru, where an additional 24 lions will be loaded on board. Upon arriving in South Africa on Saturday, the lions will find their new home at the Imoya Big Cat Sanctuary in Valvarata, Limpopo. Well, we want to know what you think about issues that affect your daily life. So each week we'll ask you a question and profile some of your responses. Well, this week we asked, what should be done to reduce corruption in Africa? And we have received a lot of responses. Amina Adam from Toronto in Canada believes that there is only one solution that can solve all issues, and that is education. Gerald Peter Banda from Zambia says corruption in Africa can only be reduced when leaders and ordinary people are content with what they have. Well, Rebecca from Lusaka, Zambia believes that corruption in Africa can only be reduced by making sure no one goes above the law. Well, thank you very much for your responses and keep them coming. Now, our next question is, how has the media impacted democratization in Africa? Go to Facebook. The address is Africa54 and tell me what you think, or send me a tweet at VOA Vincent Makori. And check out our headlines 24/7 on voaafrica.com. Coming up, A final tribute to the musician known as the King of Rumba Rock. Stay with us.
From science and technology, here's What's New.
What's new is this increasing popularity of what is known as cosplay. Originating in Japan, cosplay involves people dressing up and acting like their favorite characters from films, comics, anime, and anywhere else superheroes tend to roam. It's some serious role-playing. Soom Yat No is a cosplayer.
We get to be our favorite character for one day. We get to act like them.
The 8th annual Myanmar Cosplay and Otaku Festival was held last week in Yangon, Burma. More than 200 cosplayers and about 1,000 fans swarmed the event that has seen its attendance increase tenfold over the past 3 years. But not everyone in Myanmar is a fan of cosplay. Ling Ong Chaw is one of the event organizers.
The media, they comment very bad or like that we destroy the Myanmar culture. So it's not a culture destroyer, it's just a hobby and relaxation for the young people.
For VOA's What's New, I'm Todd Grosson.
Welcome back. Now, the body of African music legend Papa Wemba was flown to the Democratic Republic of Congo from Ivory Coast Thursday for burial. International and local artists in Abidjan paid a final tribute to the musician known as the King of Rumba Rock with an overnight concert. Emily Eob was there and has our report.
The crowd encouraged the members of Papa Wemba's band to perform despite their grief. A few thousand people, all dressed in white, came to pay tribute to one of Africa's most famous musicians. The message on their t-shirts and on the stage read, "We mourn you, long live Wemba."
He was a big man of music. Sadly, he's gone. So we are here to pay him the stirring tribute he deserves.
We've all known him since we were little. We grew up with his music and his melodies. His death really affected us, and that's why we came to give support.
Officials and artists took turns praising the man known as the King of the Congolese Rumba. Papa Wemba, whose real name was Jules Shungu Wemba Dio, died Sunday after collapsing on stage. He was performing at the Femua Music Festival organized in Abidjan by another legendary African musical act, the Ivorian band Magic System. Wemba's family was also present at the wake.
Papa Wemba wanted to die on stage. We should not be sad, we should be proud. If the biggest artist of African music decides to die where Magic System was born, it means he wanted to send a message.
The celebration lasted until dawn before Wemba's body was flown to his home, the Democratic Republic of Congo. He was 66 years old. Emily Yob for VOA News in Abidjan.
Well, Papa Wemba's body arrived in the Democratic Republic of Congo on Thursday. Hundreds of Congolese music fans gathered at the international airport in Kinshasa to welcome the body back. Congolese authorities and Wemba's family attended a memorial service at the airport before the body was taken to a morgue. Grieving family and friends, many in tears, consoled each other as his coffin passed through the airport. Now, for more on the music legend, Jules Shungu Wemba Dio Pene Kikumba, or Papa Wemba, I'm joined by VOA's RM Music Show host, Roger Muntu. Roger, what a sad day in the DRC and, of course, across the continent.
Across the continent. Thank you for having me, Vince. This is kind of remind me of when we lost Michael Jackson. And recently, we just lost Prince. Prince was one of also the biggest performing artists in the world. Papa Wemba was the Michael Jackson, the Prince.
He was the Michael Jackson, because when you listen to his voice, you listen to his music, it was unique. It was so different than even many of the Congolese musicians, right?
It was. It was so powerful because you and I, on the same here, this TV show, we talked about Rochero, who died a few years ago, a year or two. And we talked about Rochero's rumba. Papa Wemba came and changed that rumba. Papa Wemba was the revolution of
a younger person.
Exactly.
Came in like what, late 60s?
Late 60s, early 70s. That's when he started changing the rumba. Brought in a different style, a different rhythm, and
it's kind of a rebel.
Right, kind of rebel. Exactly.
At that time when they formed Zaiko Langa Langa.
Right, with Zaiko Langa Langa. He was with Zaiko Langa Langa. He was with Isifilo Kole, which is another band. And so many other young artists got that from.
I have met him. I've attended his concert. You've met him and attended his concert.
Right.
One of the things I thought I got from him, and because I've listened to many Congolese musicians, is that he had such a range in his voice, and up to the point of his death, you listen to him and you marvel.
Yeah, and you can't imagine that this man is 66 years old.
Yeah.
You know, you know, you can't imagine him singing with that high-pitched voice, you know. So until then, even when he was singing that last song, when he collapsed, you could hear that high-pitched voice.
But again, one other thing is that he influenced not only the music, but also he helped so many musicians launch their careers, right?
So many, as in the DRC, we know Wenge Muzika, Fali Pupa, Ferrigola, all these younger other
even
big Kofi Olomide, who worked with Papa Wemba for so many years, and other people from Zaiko Langa Langa. He influenced all these other singers. They were looking up to him because it was, as we said, a new style of rumba.
Exactly. Something else. He influenced more than just music, the culture of the sapology. Tell us a little bit about that.
Sapology, it's an art. He brought in that sapology, which for our viewers, we need to tell them, it's the way of looking good, dressing good, smelling good, you know, having a nice haircut, and pretty much looking great. He brought in that, that was a revolution pretty much in the rumba, because he wanted to send a message that an artist, a rumba artist, should not just be a singer playing a guitar and sing. No, there's more to it. You have to look good, you have to smell good, you have to have money, you have to have a nice house, you have to have a beautiful car. All of that.
Elegance. Yes.
That's what it was.
And he became the leader of that group of people. He was seen as a king of
As a king, and I'm telling you, Vince, from now until his burial on Tuesday, I guess, you will see so many sapeurs, as we call them, those people like you, the elegant people. They're coming from all over the world, from Paris, from Belgium, from Switzerland, from all over Africa. They are going to pay tribute to Kinshasa. You'll see a bunch of sapeurs.
So, final word, how do we remember this guy? If, you know, finally, in a few words.
In few words, we'll remember this guy as a trendsetter, pretty much. He changed the whole rumba music, and he was someone who, as we heard the Magic System say, wanted to die on the stage. If you listening, that's why I say he's kind of like the Michael Jackson. If you hear what he's saying and compare what Michael Jackson used to say when he was on the stage, Michael Jackson was a different person. That's why I keep comparing the two. When Papa Wemba is on the stage, as he said in so many interviews, he felt as if he was flying. So really, and it's a really short sentence, this is a man who loved art, who loved music.
He was always flying. He was always having his arms up.
Matter of fact, I'm going to end with this. That's his icon, pretty much.
Exactly. Thanks a lot, Roger.
Thank you so much for having me.
For being with us today and sharing with us all about Papa Wemba. Now, to learn more about Roger Muntu, you can actually visit his Facebook page, Roger Muntu, La Voix de l'Amérique, or on Twitter @RM Show. Well, it's time now for a short break. Still to come on Africa 54, a Washington Jewish festival documenting lost Jewish tribes in Africa. We'll be right back.
Mr. Mche to discontinue the prosecution of the case against Mr. Zuma is irrational and should be reviewed and set aside.
In Darfur, the security situation remains fluid and unpredictable. I'm excited and ready to go.
There is convincing evidence that poaching is aided by international criminal syndicates.
Welcome back to Africa 54. Here's what's trending. Facebook founder Mark Zuckerberg has lots to smile about. The social media giant's quarterly revenue rose more than 50%, beating Wall Street expectations as its popular mobile app and a push into live video lured new advertisers and encouraged existing ones to boost spending. The company plans to create a new class of non-voting shares, which would be given as a dividend to existing shareholders. That would allow Zuckerberg to give away 99% of his wealth while keeping the voting stock that assures his control. Facebook has gained over 200 million new users since April 2015. One next up, Beyoncé kicked off her Formation World Tour in Miami Wednesday, though she offered no insight into the rumors of marital infidelity fueled by her latest album. It was Queen Bee's first concert since she released her new album, Lemonade. Much of the album appeared to tie into Beyoncé's life. The provocative lyrics have fans and critics wondering whether her husband Jay-Z has been unfaithful. Beyoncé did not mention him, aside from a quick thank you at the end, and said little about her new album. Well, and finally, when booking a vacation, many travelers would expect hiring a private jet to be way out of their price range. Not so, according to the founder and CEO of UK-based tech company Stratajet, which includes a private aviation price comparison website. Now, the site allows travelers to search for flights on so-called empty leg flights or empty private jet flights without any passengers on board. In around 10 seconds, the search engine computes taxes as well as landing and handling fees. It then delivers a list of flight options. Despite the deep discounts, prices remain considerably higher than a seat on a regular commercial flight. And that is what is trending today. Now, the Washington Jewish Film Festival is one of the largest and most respected Jewish film festivals in North America. It is an exhibition of cinema that celebrates the diversity of Jewish history, culture, and experience. This year's festival featured a movie by Senegalese-French filmmaker Laurent Gavron as she embarked on her journey to document lost Jewish tribes in Africa. VOA's Jackson Bunganya has the report.
The Washington Jewish Film Festival is one of the largest festivals of international film in the Washington, D.C. area. This year, the festival marked its 26th anniversary of showcasing films about Jewish values and cultures worldwide. Ilya Tovis is the director of the festival.
For us, it's first and foremost a festival about the moving image and all it can do to foster conversations through documentaries and foster emotional upswings. Really, it's an amazing celebration of international cinema all throughout the city.
One of the most important conversations in the Jewish community is around the diverse ethnic and religious identities of Jewish people around the world, especially those of African descent. One of the movies that was screened at this year's festival explores this issue. That's part of the movie Black Jews, The Roots of the Olive Tree. In it, Senegalese-French filmmaker Laurent Gavron examines a number of groups in sub-Saharan African countries that converted to Judaism, with a close focus on the Jewish community in Cameroon.
I heard that there were black Jews, in Africa, and more, a lot of communities
claiming to be Jewish, to have been Jewish before, or to go back to their Jewish roots. I tried to, get in touch with them and make a film about them. So I shot mainly in Cameroon with this small Jewish community, emerging Jewish community. And I also shot in Israel because the leader of the community, Serge Etele, went to Israel to study in a religious school, in a yeshiva, so I filmed him there. And I also went to shoot in Chicago because there is a very well-known African-American rabbi called Capers Fournier in Chicago, in the south side of Chicago. And he's been Jewish for a long time, and he has this very, very diverse, community of Jews from Philippines and Mexico and African Americans everywhere.
Gavlon spent a couple of years researching for the project, and she says that the idea for the movie combined her passion for Africa and her own journey of rediscovering Judaism.
I started to have the idea, think about it very early in 2004 or 5. Then, I had some other work to do. And then at some point, I met, in 2010, I met an ethnologist, a woman from France who was working on the subject. So I worked with her, we talked, and we went to Ghana to do some footage. And then we stopped working together, but I went on with the project. So she's the one who told me about the community in Cameroon. And I went to see them the first time in 2013, and then again in 2015.
Gavlon plans to take the movie to other film festivals in the US and in other parts of the world. She says that the topic draws a lot of conversation from people who attend the film festivals, including here in Washington. For Voice of America, I'm Jackson Vunganyi.
Well, and that's our show for today. We leave you now with the music of Papa Wemba. Here is Yolele. Good night.
Welcome to English in a Minute. A bicycle has 2 wheels. A car has 4 wheels. But what has 5 wheels?
Fifth wheel.
Let's listen to Jonathan and Anna talk about being a fifth wheel.
Hey, got any weekend plans?
Well, I'm going out to dinner with 2 couples. You know what that means.
Ouch. You're going to be the fifth wheel.
I know, but luckily the couples are really cool, so I won't feel too left out.
A car does not need a fifth wheel. If someone is a fifth wheel, they may feel like an unimportant part of a group, usually a group of couples. They may feel, as Anna says, left out. And that's English in a Minute.